Hello Year 11, this is your night before news before your exam on Tuesday the 11th of March. Just a reminder, you are only sitting section A, that is Find Me. You're not doing section B this time, which is the live review. Just to repeat that, you're not doing section B, just Find Me. So ordinarily you would have 90 minutes on this exam, but you are only going to spend 60 minutes, 72 minutes if you've got extra time, focusing on Find Me. Remember, when you get the booklet, please do turn the pages and look for Find Me. Do not answer questions on any of the other texts. So on this page, you've got all of the important information. You have got the playwright, when it was written, and so on. Remember, information for the original staging conditions, etc. You're going to need this for your design questions, but also it's good to remember any of this in case you want to comment on it. And of course, anything that you say, whether it be mentioning the theme or whatever, this actually shows the examiner that you know the context of the play, and so it can't help to mention it. For section A, just a reminder of what you need to do. For section A, you will be given an extract that first of all you need to read. This could be at any point in the play. You need to look carefully at the pages that it asks you to read. First of all, read them, remind yourself exactly what happens. Now, I know you guys know the play brilliantly well, but even so, read it anyway, just to remind yourselves. Once you've done that, you need to make sure that you answer every question except the last one on that extract only. So nobody should be talking about any other extract apart from that. And remember, please don't be vague. You need to be specific and relevant to the extract. So if it asks you what Verity's relationship is with Jean, then you need to be specific to that extract. Do not talk about their relationship in general. If you can comment on the extract and reference it, even better. They know you're being specific and that you know the extract. For the final section, question of section A, the 15 marker, that is when you get to choose which extract you answer it on. And remember, you need to choose the extract that you're confident on, but don't make sure you don't choose the same extract that you've just answered questions on. It cannot be from the same extract. Make sure you choose one that you know well and that you like. It needs to be an extract of about 2 pages. And make sure it's an extract that really shows different motivations and different changes throughout. As every subject has probably told you to do this, read the question twice, highlight it. Make sure you pay attention to the marks awarded. It will tell you how much detail you need to go into. Remember, 1-mark questions, they don't need full sentences. Say it as it is. Write an answer per question as well. Don't blend them. So, for example, if it says 1I, 1II, which is essentially A and B, make sure you separate those to make it nice and clear what you're answering. The questions with fewer marks you can see in the bullet points here. You might be asked to talk about rehearsal techniques, relationships, vocal and physical skills, atmosphere, describing particular characters. This could include things like describing their social class and things like that, describing their character motivation and so on. For the fewer marks, make sure you don't need to be writing things. You don't need to be writing pages and pages. If it's a 6 marker, you're probably looking at 1 good full paragraph with explanation. If it's 1 mark, just a word will do. Look at what it's worth, and that will tell you. For rehearsal techniques, you've got things like hot seating, roles on paper, improv, removal of words. And remember, make sure you say how that particular rehearsal technique is going to help you develop that particular character. Don't just say it will help them with their character. Be specific to the extract. Specifically how. It will help Verity show her frustration. It will help Verity with her vocal techniques to show that she's frustrated, etc. I'll test how many of you are actually listening to this. Jensen just walked in. I'll keep going. For your vocal skills, you've got them listed below, but I know that you know them really, really well. Voice, physical, all below. Remember, tone is emotion. If it asks you about tempo, that's the rhythm and the speed. You've got everything below. Your acting question, we've gone through this a lot, but we've most recently gone through it and we've changed the structure. Remember, for the acting question now, you're following Mad Monkeys Can't Even Exercise. M, moment. Describe the moment. M, motivation. Remember, for the 15 mark, you want 3 different moments of motivation. So what is Jean's motivation in 3 different places? They might be quite similar, but try to make them different. C, communicate. What is it that you as an actor want to show the audience? E, evidence. So you need to choose your quote. And remember, at this point, it's when you talk about your vocal skills and your movement skills. And try to give a range, try to be descriptive as possible. Remember, if I read it and I don't understand what you're trying to say, neither will the examiner. Be specific. Think about the drawing of the teapot and the house exercise that we did that time. The more detail you give, the clearer it will be, the more marks you'll get. And remember, you need to justify, you need to explain. E is explain. 3 paragraphs, 5 marks per paragraph. Ignore that Peel structure. We've moved over to Mad Monkeys Can't Even Exercise. Mad Monkeys Can't Even Exercise. On this page, you've got all bits and pieces to do with the text as a whole. So you've got the characters and you've got the episodes. Remind yourself if you need to. And remember, for the 15 mark, you will have to select a chosen extract. And these are all of the extracts where the different main characters come up in. So Verity's got lots, Jean's got lots, Edward and Mark fewer, but still lots to choose from. Choose the one that you are most comfortable with. Design. So remember, the design questions could be a 6 mark, but there will also be a longer design question as well, probably 10 or 12, but it could be a 15 mark question. So with this, you're following the idea, your introduction first, so what's happening in the scene, what's the atmosphere, and also the original staging conditions. So this is where you talk about the fact it was in the round, the fact that it was performed during the day originally, that it was on pews, that they had minimalistic set, so just some chairs, costume, very minimal. It's important that you do include your original staging conditions. Make sure you get it right. And remember, it was originally performed in the round. Then you're following the rest. You need to identify what design skill you'll be using. So whatever the question asks you for, that's what you're designing for. Describe exactly how will you design it and what points will you be using design. So quote, be specific. At the moment when Verity says blah, I will use a red spotlight, for example. It's not necessarily needed to use quotes for a set, and for costume, certainly for lighting and sound. This is a good thing to do because you can mark the transitions and so on. Make sure you justify, so explain, give reasons for your design. And remember, for your design, really make sure that you describe everything. Material, fabric, condition, colour, shape, etc. Position on the stage. Really try to be descriptive and specific. Finally, audience impact. What do you want the audience to get from it? What do you want them to understand? Remember, if you're designing for set or indeed for lighting or sound, what time of day is it? What era is it? Where are they? Think about these things and make sure that you include that, because that shows that you understand the play. So read the question carefully. Specifically, as some questions ask you to design specifically for a stage. So if you start designing for any old stage, and in fact it's asking you to design for in the round or thrust or traverse, then you must make sure that your design is tailored specifically for that stage convention. Otherwise, you won't get the marks. So make sure you are designing specifically for that stage direction, and mention things like blinding of the audience if it tells you to talk about lighting, blinding of the audience, you know, angles of lighting, but also positioning of staging and so on. Please remember also design could be lighting, sound, set and props, costume, hair and makeup. Yes, I've got all 4. So make sure you read the question. Don't talk about anything that is not on there. Use your drama terminology, paint a clear picture, use every bullet point on there, and aim to write about a page for this. Here is your original staging conditions. Everything you need to know is in that. Have a good read of that. I'll give you a moment just to recap. You can always come back. Let's move on. So again, there's your original staging conditions. Please make sure you include all of this. So here's your design terminology. Everything for lighting. Remember, you're thinking specifically about your lanterns, parkan, flood, spot, etc. Then you've got gels. So your colours, you must be talking about colours. Gobos is the stencil you can use to create a particular shape. Then you've got your angles. Remember, different angles create different effects. If you want top lit, if you want top angles, if you're lighting from the top, you'll create shadows. Equally, if you light from underneath, from below, you'll create shadows. Think carefully. Front lighting is your standard lighting. Additionally, if you're using a gauze in set design, remember, if you light it from the back, it becomes transparent, opaque. It becomes transparent, so you can see through it. If you stand it from the other side, from the front, it will become opaque. Talk about your intensity, so that's usually percentages. Your transitions, washes, your hue, thank you Molly May, and of course blackouts and so on. For your sound, you've got your diegetic and your non-diegetic. Remember everybody, diegetic is your sounds such as telephones going off, the noise of cars, anything that the characters can genuinely hear. Non-diegetic is your atmospheric sounds, music, heartbeats, etc. Think about the rest of the effects that you can create as well, and be specific. Please don't just say, I will have French music. What kind of French music? You guys did do some research on French music. Go back, touch on that, have a look. Costume, hair and makeup we looked at recently. Remember, think about the era. So it's set in the 50s. Are you choosing to set it in the 50s or are you modernizing it? Think carefully. You will need to justify that as well. Remember, if it asks you just for costume, you don't need to talk about hair and makeup, but if it does ask you, you must discuss. And even if that's a boy that you've been asked to design for, you need to consider hair and makeup. Remember, makeup doesn't have to be your eye makeup, your mascara, your lipstick, etc. You can have your prosthetics, scars, scratches, etc., wounds. Set and props. You need to be making sure that you are thinking about your wow factor. Guys, I can't say this enough. Is it really an idea that nobody else in the country has got? Think about that. Style is important. Is it naturalistic? Is it abstract? Nobody is going to design minimalistically because you just can't get the marks for it. Are you using projection? How can you incorporate levels? Some of you incorporated a hopscotch that had podiums that went up and down for the playground scene. That's great. Think about colour, really important. The material, the fabric of particular furniture items, set items. Are you including a backdrop? If you've been asked to design for proscenium arch, you must include a backdrop. What is that backdrop going to be? Is your backdrop actually a gauze that you're going to project onto? Flats and so on. Just a reminder of your staging. I know you know this really well, but what I can't say enough, guys, is that you need to be designing specifically for that. Not in general, be specific. Consider your entrances, your exits, consider your placement of set. I also really want you to be using proper stage terminology: stage left, stage right, upstage, downstage. Remember, for downstage is closest to the audience. Downstage is closest to the audience. Upstage is furthest away. So that's it for now. Remember, you're only doing section A this time round. You're not doing section B. We'll move on to section B once this is all over. But go back, check everything, have a go at some exam questions. Keep an eye on your time. Remember, generally you should be spending about 1.5 minutes per mark. But there are some questions that don't need 1.5 minutes. For your 15-mark questions, you need to be spending between 23 and 25 minutes, a bit longer if you've got extra time. Please don't run out of time. Make sure you are careful and you look at the clock. Additionally, if you choose to write your 15 marker first and then go back, that's fine, but make sure you go back. Reread everything. I don't want anybody coming out of that exam early. If you can keep writing, keep adding, that can only be a good thing. Last but not least, break a leg, everybody. Remember, component 2, you did fantastically. Let's not that go in vain. You are brilliant. You will be brilliant. Read the question, follow the structure, make sure you're specific, use your terminology, show that you know the play like the back of your hand, and you'll be fine. Good luck revising, good luck in your exam.